Hello, mappers and grappers. Welcome to episode 13 of Maps and Graps. I'm your host, as always, Lyric Swinton, aka at Lyric Wrestling on Twitter. Is Twitter still going to be a thing a couple months from now? Who knows? I'm also on the new Threads thing with Instagram, just at Lyric Swinton. Listen, social media is it's the wild, wild west right now. So, you know, I don't know what's happening with these apps, but there'll always be a place to find me and this podcast. So don't worry, we're not going anywhere. It's been a very exciting time in the world of pro wrestling. I feel like I'm still personally recovering from Forbidden Door. Me and Charlie both, like, we recorded both as soon as we got home, and so I just feel like my body took like a whole week to like re-regulate after that. And then, of course, like, be me being the fan that I am, like, I had to go back and like rewatch some of the matches. I have now seen Osprey versus Omega 2 three times. Not even counting like the actual night of, where I was there witnessing it in person. Yeah, guys, that's my match of the year. I don't know what else to tell you. That final sequence of Kenny kicking out of the one wing angel at one, going into him like being able to reverse the one wing angel into a German suplex mid move to the Tiger Driver, 91 to the Hidden Blade to the Stormbreaker. I mean, just that cinema, baby. I don't know. But yeah, it's been super cool. Lots of cool stuff happening, specifically in Puro Wrestling. I mean, American wrestling too. Obviously, there's a merge there with the New Japan Strong shows that happened for Independence Day on July 4th and 5th in Korakuen Hall, Tokyo, Japan. I knew this card was going to be insane. Like, I knew going into it that like this had the potential to be like one of my favorite sets of shows the entire year. But my God, did they not disappoint? Like, New Japan is promotion of the year. I think I've said it on here before, but just to reiterate, New Japan is promotion of the year. And I think it's not even just the fact that they've done a lot right this year, which they have. But one thing that I admire about New Japan in this space, and this time in pro wrestling, is where, like, you have to think that about it. Every single major promotion is stepping it up. Like, WWE is stepping it up in their own way. AEW is stepping it up, like, expanding. And even Impact, is expanding. Ring of Honor is getting back off the ground. Noah is like, doing really well right now, and like, in the process of expanding. All Japan Pro Wrestling is trying to get their name out there. Stardom is, finally showing signs of wanting to, like, branch out. TJPW just did insane shows during, WrestleMania weekend. Huge draw. Joshi Wrestling on the indies here in the US. Like, every single promotion that like really has a stake in like the major field is firing on all cylinders right now. And New Japan is still like standing heads above and shoulders above everybody else right now. And I think it's because of like innovation like this, like we saw on these New Japan Strong shows. They have been taking a lot of risks, and I think that they're, not being scared to take risks, especially. And you have to think they have more ground to cover than like just about a lot, most, like basically every American promotion, just because you have to think Japan, like, COVID restrictions just got thrown out completely, like maybe 4 months ago, something like that. So it's very interesting to see how much ground they've covered in a short period of time. Like, you have to think, like, WWE's been back, AEW's been back, Impact's been back. Like, everybody's been back for a while. Obviously everything isn't the same since before COVID, but like, everybody's basically adapted. But man, the way that they have just continued to just set such a high bar this year. Every single show has been extremely entertaining. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about all of them here because I've already talked about most of them that happened this year. But I'm specifically about to talk about these New Japan Strong shows. So let's get into it. So on night one, we started off with, a 6-man tag, Young Lions and, the old heads teaming up, like usual stuff. Oh, as well as some outsider talent. Bad Dude Tito defeated the DKC. And next we had Team Filthy versus Alex Zane, Lance Archer, and Awa. Like, even though these were obviously like, just how I'll say it, like, just matches to get people on the card. And they were all like, everything was super entertaining. I feel like everything was timed great. Also, I think I knew this, but Lance Archer is a rock star, like a rock star in Japan. It's really cool to see him get that type of reaction. And I think like that's also, I think I tweeted this, but I was like, this AEW New Japan relationship continues to like pay off for all parties, because I think like, and now you add Ring of Honor into that mix too, of just like you have so many different stars, I think on both sides, on all sides, who there will never be enough TV time in the world, like, for any, or, just the marquee matchups in the world for everybody. But I think we've seen a lot of people be able to get big moments, big, like, just like being able to be on a larger scale that they might not be like waiting in line for opportunity, maybe at AEW. I think Lance Archer is like one of those super talented people who can have main event matches. Like, obviously we've seen on AEW, like his, like, to this day, that Texas death match that he had with Hangman is one of my favorites of Hangman's title run. And I trust me, I loved most of the matches from Hangman's title reign, but that's one that I keep going back and revisiting because, man, that one was so good. But yeah, Lance Archer in Japan, I think, has just been so great for him. And like to have like, another fitting place, for him to still feel like a big deal, because like he has to be one of the best big men right now in professional wrestling. Like, just absolutely incredible athlete. But moving on in the card, we had Tom Lawler versus Kosei Fujita. Listen, man, I've been really high up on Fujita this year. He's been a great fit with TMDK. Apparently, he's done like doesn't need excursion or anything as a young island. As a young lion. He's graduated. Love to hear it. He is head and shoulders above just about everybody in his class right now with wrestling. Tom Lawler said that himself. And his backstage comments after, like, obviously Tom Lawler won the match, but man, Fujita is special. And I look forward to seeing his career. He fits, like I said, he fits in the technical style of TMDK like a glove. And man, I'm just really excited. Big news dropped this weekend. This past week, with New Japan calling the new Three Musketeers, aka Shota Umino, Yota Tsuji, and Ren Narita. And a lot of young lions, both on the American side as well as the Japanese side, did not take too kindly to that. And hey, I think it's going to be a very interesting dynamic that we see play out in the G1 as well as throughout the rest of the year. And I'm excited just because there's a lot of people with claims to being, saying that they're next up in the next generation. I'm going to get to that when we get further down the card here. But next, we had a good preview tag. Eddie Kingston and Rocky Romero versus Bullet Club, Gato and Kenta. Eddie and Rocky get the win. Listen, it's just so special to see Eddie Kingston walking Korakuen Hall in his 40s. You have to think he's gotten his big break in wrestling, fairly late in his career. He's wearing this Jay Briscoe t-shirt, and these people, like, regardless of language barriers or anything like that, they are cheering Eddie Kingston, and it's just beautiful because obviously he's talked openly about his love for Japanese wrestling. But for me personally, a lot of my love for Japanese wrestling comes from Eddie Kingston. Like he was one of, the wrestlers that I really gravitated to in AEW, and he would always post while he had a Twitter account. He would just post matches, like just match. There's not like typically no like caption or anything. Just post matches, YouTube links. I started watching them, and I was like, "Oh, I want to love this." Like and fall deeper and deeper in this and loving Puro wrestling, Joshi wrestling. And that's exactly what I did. And I think a lot of that was inspired by, Eddie Kingston. Like he just made it so cool to be a Puro nerd. And I was like, man, if Eddie Kingston can do this, I can do this too. So, like I said, very good preview tag. It was a beautiful moment to see. Next up, we had Momo Kogo and Willow Nightingale versus Mafia Bella, Julia, and Tekla. Listen, I love this tag match. I think that all four of these people are spectacular, but man, it was special to see Willow. First of all, just see Willow and Corkin Hall as the new Japan Pro Wrestling world strong women's champion. Like I think that was special in so many different ways, and it just gave me chills, like yeah, it just gave me chills seeing like we've seen her grow and progress. Like this time last year she wasn't even signed to a company. Like she did not have a contract, and now you're like you're representing a whole promotion, multiple promotions, to be quite honest, like representing AEW, representing Ring of Honor, representing New Japan, and you're doing it like just a year ago you weren't even signed. That's just crazy. Like I'm just very proud of her for like really taking the ball. People could say whatever they want about what should and should have happened, like on the night of Resurgence. Like I was hoping that Willow won it to start with, even though I love Mercedes, obviously. And I think like she's risen to the occasion beautifully. Like she made you believe that she is a worthy champion, which she is, and I think that's all that matters. Like she's done her job just so efficiently, and I think like I just really appreciated her title reign. So just want to talk about that. But man, Julia and Tekla are a great team. Tekla is also amazing. Like I think that she's extremely underrated. The Toxic Spider. And her post-match comment, she talked about wanting to wrestle Willow one-on-one, and I think that like that is really cool. Like I think, and it also points towards a deeper future working relationship, hopefully between AEW and Stardom. And so that's super awesome. It was just really cool seeing all these people, mix it up, and also Momo Koga and Willow are a great babyface team, like super sunshine and rainbows in the best way possible. And also Momo continues to rise to the occasion in big time matchups. And listen, I think that's what's so scary about Stardom if they really start interacting with the world. Is people don't understand like Momo Kogo is like the equivalent of a third stringer on a football team. So like if that's the third string, imagine what the star quarterback looks like. Like that's what's scary about Stardom. It was just like everybody, even the third stringers, like the quote unquote jobbers, are capable of pulling out like 4-star minimum matches. Like insanity. Moving on. This was one of my favorite results of the night. Bullet Club War Dogs, Alex Coughlin and Gabe Kidd defeated Bishamon for the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team titles. I think that this was a perfect decision. Also, I want to give props to New Japan for actually being able to split titles up in with no fuss. Like that was just really, really, really efficient way of splitting up the titles. Of just okay, you're going to go against the same team both nights, just different belt on the line every night. That was just such an efficient way. I feel like sometimes promotions make all this unification stuff like super hard, or like they act like they can't split up titles without unifying. It's just that was just, and I know I'm like sounding like that was just common sense, but sometimes common sense ain't too common. So whatever. This was a great match. A lot of y'all owe David Finlay an apology. I'm not going to be, not going to actually, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of people owe David Finlay an apology. Um, so I don't know when y'all gonna tell that man sorry, but I think you should. When that man said he was gutting and rebuilding Bullet Club from the ground up with real killers and savages, he was not playing. Sending all these guys was a great decision to Bullet Club. Like, and moving on to the next match was even better. The IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Title match. You had the other Bullet Club War Dogs, Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney, defeated Catch 22, Francesco Akira, and TJP. This was an incredible match. It's hard to believe it's very hard to believe that was Clark Connors and Drilla's first time ever teaming up. And like the chemistry that they had is absolutely insane. It's like if you would have told me that when they had that original crazy, nutty match at Best of the Super Juniors, like literally tried to kill each other, that they would end up becoming a tag team and end up being like instantly one of my favorite tag teams. These guys have it. Like the charisma is there, the wrestling ability is there, like the heat with the crowd is there. Like they get it. It's just like, I think it's really cool to see specifically like the LA Dojo guys. I feel like everybody has been able to step out and really show what they can do this year. And I feel like it's still a long way to go because, I mean, if you heard Alex Coughlin and Gabe Kidd's post-match comments, they talked about how they feel like they've been getting cheated lately of not being on the Wrestle Kingdom card, not being on a lot of these special shows, or not being in the New Japan Cup. How they, not being, having all these opportunities, like they went through the dojo system too, especially like, in light of the new comments about Narita, Umino, and Tsuji being the new Three Musketeers. And I think that a lot of the LA dojo guys have like a huge problem with that, and they have a chip on their shoulder. And I mean, we've seen it this year of just quiet as is kept. The facts are the facts. Out of all the recent young lions who have graduated within the last 3 to 4 years, there are 5 who have won gold in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Only one is not from the LA Dojo, and technically he kind of is, because obviously we all know that Ren Narita did his excursion in the LA Dojo to be trained by Shibata. So we currently have Kevin Knight, Alex Coughlin, Gabe Kidd, Clark Connors, and Ren Narita have all won gold in New Japan Pro Wrestling at this point. So, hey, the facts are the facts, and I think that we're seeing just this young wave of people just just really proving themselves in New Japan, and it's going to cause all-out civil war. And I think what's going to be even more exciting is obviously in the G1, there's one block that doesn't look like the other, and that's the one that has most of the the young talent. So I'm super excited. Oh, one other thing that Kidd and Coughlin brought up is the fact that Kaito Kiyomiya has seemed to get more opportunities than them, and he doesn't even work there. So he'll also be a huge factor, interesting factor. I think mixing it up with like a lot of these young guys, because you have some of them their first time, like Coughlin, Kidd. They're in the tournament for the first time this year, as well as Kaito Kiyomiya, as well as Shota Umino and Ren Narita and Yota Tsuji. So like, there's a lot of, interesting storylines here. Like, Kevin Knight and Clark Connors had their tiff that they got into at Best of the Super Juniors. So like, we're seeing a lot of hungry young talent, and I just love it. Like, honestly, I feel like especially that Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney match versus Catch 22, that was the shot in the arm that tag team wrestling needed. have there been some great tag team matches this year? Absolutely, 100%. But I think that like we've one thing that we've lacked this year that I feel like happened a lot last year is like tag team matches, great tag team matches from like actual teams, like people who are established tag teams. Like I think, a lot of that is because, trios wrestling, I feel like just came up huge this year. Like, and I think so. There's a lot of great signature 6-man tags, but like as far as like this established team versus this established teams, there hasn't been a lot of those type matches this year that I have really wowed me. And the ones that did, almost all of them included Aussie Open, like from Young Bucks Aussie Open to Bishamon Aussie Open, like even like, Matt Seidel and Christopher Daniels were forming their old team to face, Aussie Open. Like that's, obviously I love a good makeshift tag team. And we've seen a lot of great makeshift tag team matches, but for tag divisions to grow and be solid in a wrestling promotion, you need like those established tags, and this is exactly what I was looking for. Like this is exactly what I was looking for. Clark Connors and Maloney versus Catch 2, and also shout out to Catch 2. Like they, when they won the titles the first time, like the division that they inherited versus the division that they leave behind are two completely different divisions when it comes to um the junior heavyweight division. Like as far as tag team wrestling, like man, they've made you believe it. And they've also elevated every single team that they've gotten in the ring with, like from, Kevin Knight and Kushida to, Maloney and Connors, because I think like this match was huge for them to, really like, cement, is this pairing going to work, or are we just blowing smoke up everybody's ass? But obviously it works. And so much of that is due to, Catch 2, like, well done. I mean, it's been said before. United Empire is, I mean, one of the most talented collection of athletes ever. Literally each wrestler in United Empire has had an insane match this year, a great match this year, and if they haven't had one yet, they have one lined up. I'm thinking of Great O'Khan versus Michael Oku that is coming up very soon with Rev Pro, that I'm almost positive is going to be a banger. You have that classic Aaron Hanare had earlier this year with Shingo. Obviously, Aussie Open is responsible for most of my favorite tag matches of the year. You have Will Ospreay and had two like of the best matches of all time just this year alone. Even with injuries this year, like absolutely insane. Catch You 2 just being incredible. Jeff Cobb has been awesome every time I've seen him wrestle this year. Had a great match with Kenny Omega. Yeah, and I hope I'm not missing anybody, but I'm just really happy with just the impact that United Empire continues to have on wrestling, especially in New Japan, of just elevating everybody and really adding prestige to some belts that have lost prestige. They've been really great for that. Love that. Next, I will say I don't think I've ever heard like a modern, like a 2023 Cork and Hall match as loud as the pop for a Jun Kasai. Like the Doomsday no disqualification tag team match. Listen, man, this was beautiful pro wrestling violence. El Desperado and Jun Kasai versus Homicide and John Moxley. Four of the sickest fucks in professional wrestling. Wow. I mean, like, it's funny because I was watching it at like, what was it, 6 a.m., something like that. And I kid you not, I just kept having to put my hand over my mouth because I was screaming so loud, and I'm almost positive like my neighbors probably would have thought like I was getting murdered in here or something. Like this wooed me and wowed me. And it was beautiful, ugly, disgusting, sadistic, nasty, just broken down, just insane. And I mean, that crowd loved every bit of it. And I think like that's just such a credit to the work that um Rocky Romero has been doing, and also everybody who works on New Japan Strong. Um, like they built an entire brand that still feels like New Japan, but still feels distinct. Listen, American Strong Style is, I think, here to stay, and I am really proud. I think as an American, I've never actually said that sentence before. Anyway, I'm proud as an American that a space like this was created. I feel like a lot of times in American wrestling, you feel like you've had to choose of just, a very high quality standard, or, what's going to sell and get the most viewers, like sports entertainment. Like, I feel like it's always been like a compromise. And I feel like New Japan Strong exists in a space to where like wrestling does not have to compromise, of like, wrestling is clearly the focus. Like there's a niche for this, there's an audience for this, and like it's not for everybody, but it's a large enough audience to where, yes, this space is so necessary now. And like I'm just really glad that it exists. Homicide teaming up with John Moxley was so poetic, and I think on the same, I thought like in the back of my head of just like, for Eddie Kingston, like imagine how special that is to have Homicide and Mox there. Like obviously, like kayfabe, like him and Mox are beefing, but like those are two of his best friends, and that was, and like I just thought about it, like that's just so special for him to have, be able to go over there, but then have a piece of home, and have people who like literally watch you in your career, like progress, be there for you, like it's like having your family there. And so it was super cool. Also Jun Kasai, like dude dude, like you can, it's like a certain point in every Mox match you can tell like when he like falls in love with his opponent, and it doesn't always happen. I like, there's very few people to where I feel like their insanity has made Mox like, oh, I love you. And I think one is definitely like Hangman Page. I think Kenny Omega's one. I think Tomohiro Ishii is definitely one. El Desperado is one, and I just think like Jun Kasai is one. Now because he's just like, oh, somebody crazier than me. Like you can tell he loves it, and I just loved like the discourse online, and everybody's losing their minds about Mox is crazy and da, 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 da. Meanwhile, Mox is like, how can I top this? Like, how can I go crazier tomorrow? And also, like, he doesn't care about social media. So he's just gonna be himself, and he's gonna go crazy, go stupid. And I love that for him because he's a go. I like a lot of, the thing is, like I've said before, a lot of people, we hear a lot of wrestlers talk about wanting better and wanting more for their careers, but Mox is one of the rare people, especially on the men's side, that actually went out and got better and demanded better. And him demanding better for his professional wrestling career made professional wrestling itself so much better, in the sense of like, you got to think of him wanting to do the G1, wanting to like, go to New Japan, but also like, wanting to do AEW, and like literally loving them both so much and wanting to give them both so much, to the point that he literally just basically forces them to work together. And look at everything that has come from that. Like he was the forbidden door, and we've gotten to see so many other people walk through it, and it's really, it's beautiful to see. And I just love John Moxley. So next we had day 2. We started off with pre-show 6-man, nothing really to write home about, but Master Wato, Oleg, and Taguchi got the win. Next, Oscar Alub was scheduled to have a match against JR Kratos, but he was injured in the night before. So he had a mystery opponent, which ended up being Satoshi Kojima. And this was short. Obviously, the Young Lion lost, but it was a really a decent showing. Next, we had Catch 2 having a match against Homicide and Oa. They got a win here after losing the belts last night, but like I said, Catch 2 just makes everything so much better. Really happy that they're there. Also, Francisco Akira. I know we talk a lot about Kyle Fletcher being the future, and he 100% is, but Akira is like right there with him. Like, it was obvious during Best of the Super Juniors, but every time I watch him, this kid is special. So don't sleep on him. Next, we had the Connors and Maloney were going up against Rocky Romero and Yo, but this got changed to an IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Title match. Right before it happened, with Romero and Yo being former title holders challenged for it. This match was great. Like I said, these guys are just awesome. Rocky is always solid. Everything is picture perfect. Yo is in his postmodern era, and he has just been losing it since Best of Super Junior, and I have enjoyed his performances so much. It's been fun. Next, we had and also shout out to Connors and Maloney. This is only their second match as a team, and they're gelling so well, and it's just such a great time. Next, we have Alex Zane and Lance Archer versus Bad Dude Tito and Fujita. Sadly, Bad Dude Tito and Fujita lost, but hey, it was a really great reaction for all the guys. Next, there was the 6-man tag team match, Hiroshi Tanahashi, the DKC, and Tomohiro Ishii versus Team Filthy. Jarrell Nelson, Royce Isaacs, and Tom Lawler. Team Filthy lost, but let me tell you, like, Tom Lawler talked about this in his backstage comments, but like, he's incredible, and I really, really do hate it for him that Adam Cole was sick and that he couldn't wrestle, that match at Forbidden Door, because man, like, Tom Lawler is a talent. And I feel like, he's been one of those anchors of New Japan Strong. And I think like there's so many other opportunities that I hope opens up for him. He's great. And like, he's brought a lot of people with him. And like, even him in the gawky American flag apparel, like in Cork and like the way that he gets people into it, was super awesome. He's super awesome. And I really hope that a lot of things happen for him in the coming year. Next, Julia versus Willow Nightingale. Yeah, I will say the match at first, there were clearly like some communication problems, like probably language barrier. But once they got it, they got it. Like, wow, like that was a really, really, really great. Like, you have some great storytelling there of, of Julia not having to like, continue to like try different things to be Willow. And I think Willow was just showed off as an incredible powerhouse. She was made for this, man. Like, I'm so happy for her. Like, yeah, Julia's the new champion. She's going to be a great champion. And I think like Stardom's at a really, really interesting point of just like, you can either you can either be in charge in the sense of like, allowing these bookings and picking and choosing which ones they take and like, being able to benefit off of them, or you can just risk these women going off on their own and becoming mega stars, because like, there's a market for it. They know it's a market for it. Fans want it. Like, these are stars. And I think like we're in an opportunity that we've never been in before. And I think I'm going to probably write about this in one of my articles, but we're at an opportunity in American wrestling that we really haven't been on in a very, 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 very long time, of just I feel like yes, there in the time in the past there have been like Joshi wrestlers who have gone to WWE, um, which is fine, but obviously they can't. They're not just because of how the styles work. They're not allowed to wrestle the way that we may be used to them wrestling in a Stardom or another Japanese women's promotion as stiff or other things. However, I think coming off the pandemic, especially with the implementation of New Japan of America and partnerships with like Impact and obviously AEW and Ring of Honor, we are at a point to where we can actually truly put Joshi wrestling on a large American global platform without any censorship. Like in the sense of like actual stiff, like all the things that make this special, like not watering it down, like actually bring just like just like being able to put like some of the best Japanese stars on a card or like a Forbidden Door or like just regular partnership and Multiverse United, stuff like that. But like we now have the opportunity with women. And I think that when the floodgates open, like I think this is going to be a turning point for women's wrestling. I think this match marked a turning point for women's wrestling of just you can say whatever you want about the AEW women's division, but we're not going to say that they're not talented. And Willow Nightingale went in that ring with Julia and looked like a world class athlete because she is. And she's not the only person who's capable of doing that, on that roster. Like there are other women who can go hand to hand with the best in the business because because I feel like that's always a debate. People just say, oh well, they're the best American wrestler, but they couldn't beat the best Joshi wrestler. So like they not the best in the world. I feel like now we're in a position like let's find out. We are now in a position to actually find out. Like book the Jamie Haters versus a Stardom opponent like a Utami. Like you can book Athena versus Tam Nakano. Please, for the love of God, book Athena versus Tam Nakano. I want that match so bad. You can book like a Willow Nightingale versus a Micah of like who's the biggest best powerhouse. Like these things are a reality. It's no longer just what ifs. Like I feel like we're here at this moment now, where we can start seeing some of these things happen. And that's going to be super cool. It's going to be super cool to watch. It was cool to see Julia and Willow Nightingale in the ring together. I'm excited for Julia's reign, but man, Willow, I just hope she understands how special her winning that belt was to me and to so many other people. And she was just an incredible first champion who carried that belt with so much pride and dignity. And so we'll always love her for that. Up next, we had the second tag team title match, Bishamon versus Coughlin and Kidd. This was for the IWGP tag team belts. Bishamon won here, which I feel like was the right call. This match was not as good as the first one, but that is completely okay. It was still good, so I don't really care. And it did what it needed to do. It split the titles in a no fuss fashion. You get the Coughlin and Kidd get that moment, and Bishamon got their lick back. Even's even, 1-1. Okay, everything's fine. And also Coughlin and Kidd will, they'll be much more, open and available to doing like New Japan strong events, on American soil and stuff like that. So it'll be great. Next, we had one of the, I think, truly sweetest, beautiful moments in professional wrestling history. Eddie Kingston and Korakuen Hall defeating Kenta for the New Japan Strong Openweight title. It was beautiful. And I'm going to be honest, like I'm looking at Cage Match right now and I see that the match was 13 minutes, but like it felt like so much longer. I will say like all of these matches felt like so much longer. Like going back and actually seeing like how much time they took up is really crazy because like I did not realize that New Japan really paced their show that well. Like the time that they gave all these matches was really great because it felt like forever. Um, this was just special, man. Like he was so shocked originally, and then like you can tell he couldn't believe it, and then like tears, and then him having homicide there. It was just so beautiful. I'm really happy for Eddie. This can't be the end though. Like I love that he's won the New Japan Strong Openweight title. Um, but I want it to keep coming. Like I wanted to keep coming. Put the Ring of Honor belt on him. Put the AEW World Championship on him. I don't care. I love Eddie Kingston. Next we had, and lastly, we had the final death match: John Moxley versus El Desperado. These two sick fuckers. But man, do they know how to perform. El Desperado is somebody who brings it out of Mox. I don't know. It's really interesting. Yeah, like I said earlier, when Mox really respects somebody, it's just like a whole different level he taps into. And it's so crazy. Like people, he took a while to bleed in this match. But literally, it's so funny because when he does, it's like a switch turns on. It's like a switch turns on. And he just goes to a whole different level with the blood when the blood starts rushing down his face. And I just want to give props, one, to El Desperado. He didn't win this match, but El Desperado, you are one of my faves. Absolutely incredible wrestler. Like the charisma, like just the presence. El Desperado, like, it's crazy that a man in a mask can really have that much like of an emotional connection. Like a not even like a get the crowd hype type of connection, but it's like, oh, I feel like I know this man. I know everything about him and I love him and he is incredible and amazing and I just want him to have all the things in the world. Like El Desperado, he just has that connection with the audience to where like, nah, like we locked in. Like we're really locked in. Like I don't just think your moves are cool. I think you're cool. Okay? Like just you're awesome. And to where people are really rooting for him. Like he's like one of those people, and I think it's even in the name Desperado is just like, one of those lone rangers who will do anything to like, get that thrill. I feel like Hangman's another character like that. He's just awesome. And he's just the way that he continues to reinvent himself and like it's take on these matches, and I mean just not even just do well to say that he's not typically a deathmatch wrestler. Like no, he excels. He's not good at it, he's amazing at it. And I think this whole week, this last, not weekend, but the last 2 days, those 2 days events, like it shows that deathmatch wrestling is wrestling. When done correctly, like, don't just be hitting people over the head just to hit people with it. Like pacing is so important. Like, emotion is so important. Like El Desperado, Jun Kasai, Homicide, John Moxley. These are some of the best people at this. Specific, like I will say, like watching Jun Kasai, I've developed a completely new appreciation for deathmatch wrestling because like seeing how he operates and how he like approaches his matches, even though like he's doing some crazy shit, no movement is wasted. Like it's just you can see him like analyzing his environment, breaking down what goes where. Like it's like planned chaotic violence, and it's magic. And you can tell that, oh yeah, Mox learned something from Jun Kasai. And yeah, I've never understood, like I've liked death matches, but I've never really understood the art of deathmatch wrestling until I think I started watching Jun Kasai. and also reanalyzing, like, Mox's, some of Mox's matches and El Desperado's matches. Like, I just loved it. Great final death match. Hats off to New Japan for two kick ass shows, two new champion. Well, basically a lot of new champions, new IWGP Junior Heavyweight champions, New Japan Strong Tag Team champions, New Japan Strong champion, and New Japan Strong Women's champion. But I mean, wow. And you got a commitment from Mox to be coming back to Japan more frequently. Um, hats off to my promotion of the year. I don't know. But we also had, um, oh, before I get into anything, Fight Forever's out, guys. I've been having a blast. Ever since I got it, it got delivered on my doorstep last Thursday, and I have not put it down since. Um, I know that Kenny Omega is tired of me on that game because I play as him all the time. I alternate between Kenny and Mox, or I will alternate between Chris Statlander, Sheeta, and Jade Cargill. I have been beating MJF's ass a lot in the game. I also love the lights out matches as well as the exploding barbed wire death matches. So I've definitely played more of those than any other match, probably. And Eddie Kingston has just won the world championship and Road to Elite. Life is good. Yeah, Fight Forever, guys. Get yours now on all consoles. But yeah, it's really actually really super incredible. I'm a huge fan of the game. Yeah, some things I wish would be better. Yeah, like obviously, but it's a lot of stars I'm waiting to get on the roster, like for the game. But I think it was awesome for like for base level. Like obviously, we're all going to go back and download a lot of DLC anyway, and I mean, they could not have taken much longer with that game. I would have screamed. Like, I literally would have probably just hit up the website that I pre-ordered it from and just said, just cancel my order and give me back my money because this is ridiculous because I did this last year. But I'm really happy with the game so far. Thank you, Kenny Omega, for all of your hard work. Yeah, and I will be seated whenever I find out when the Jamie Hayter downloadable content is coming because that is one thing I'm really missing. Like I really want to play as Jamie Hayter. Um, I really, really, really want to play as Jamie Hayter. So hopefully that happens soon. Oh, and Tony Storm too. Like I need those two like really bad. Like really want those in the game, but we're doing well otherwise. And I feel like my skills are improving. I haven't had this much fun playing a wrestling game since I was a kid, like back in when I used to play Day of Reckoning or SmackDown Here Comes the Pain or SmackDown versus Raw 2007. Like those were my jams back in the day. So it's cool. It's also cool to have blood in a video game again. Like really, like I don't know, feel like I'm committing murder in my video game. Like that's how I like it typically. So I don't in my video games. We were, doing the Forbidden Door post show. I forgot that we didn't talk about the Stardom shows. And now another week has passed. So there's been two Stardom shows. So just to quickly recap, two major Stardom shows. Anyway, the one that happened on the same night as Forbidden Door started off with the pre-show match. We had Stars versus Aya, Waka, and Yuna. Just your, run of the mill pre-show 6-man. Nanai defeated Hanako. Suri defeated Xena as expected. We had Cosmic Angels and Kairi defeated Micah, May Sarah, and Suzu Suzuki, which was a great match. I highly recommend you go back and watch it. We had Club Venus, Mariah May, and Mina Shirakawa defeated Ami Sorai and Mirai. And man, this was a beautiful moment. I think one, to get some redemption for Mina, because I hate that she lost the white belt as quickly as she did, but for Mariah May, like, the hate that she got when she first got to Stardom was absolutely insane. Like, people were just like, "Oh, she's trying to devalue Stardom. She doesn't actually care." Like the Joshi stands, purists and elitists, they went in on her. It's like, she's just a beach blonde. Like, why doesn't she go to, like, somewhere like NXT? Like, she doesn't care about wrestling. Just a whole bunch of unfounded claims from people who had never obviously watched any of her work. Like, for me personally, I had not seen much of her work, but I knew that if she got into Stardom, like, she's good. Like, she's really good. And I think also for right now, being a foreigner who can go to Stardom, like, she had to completely uproot her life. And I think that it's just so cool that she really stuck with this. Like, she might have a pretty face, but she is as tough as they come. And Mariah May is really cool. And she's been, like, Mina's right hand, like her lieutenant in Club Venus from the start. Like, she's one of those original members. So it was really awesome just seeing them, aka Rose Gold, win the Goddess of Stardom belts. They deserve. Exciting to see what both of these women do in the 5-star Grand Prix. They're awesome. Next, there was the cage match. Julia Mai and Tekla versus Suzuki Kaguma and Mayu Iwatani. Donna Del Mondo won this, and they retained their Artist of Stardom title belts. Ooh. Um, but I thought this match was great. Honestly, DDM, like, this collection of DDM, since they won these artist belts, they have not missed. Even like when they originally won the belts, that match was so good. And I remember like telling people like, "Oh yeah, please go back and watch this match. Go watch this match because it was so good." Um, but yeah, Julia is operating on a completely different, like, level right now. And not to mention, she is now 2 belts. Julia 2 belts. So she is the New Japan strong women's champion, as well as the Artist of Stardom champion in Stardom. So this match was great. But the big finale, the one that really, really shook the place up, the match was the loser must leave the unit, steel cage, 12-woman tag team match, Queen's Quest versus Odio Tai. And oh my gosh, this match, it was great. Don't get me wrong, it was great. But the finish, that finish, like the last 3 minutes of that match were nuts. Like nuts. You had Saya climb up the cage to hold on to Utami and help her out. And they rejoiced because they had been having problems lately, and it was so beautiful. And then you have Saki being the one who's left, which I didn't see coming. I was like, they just put some gold on her. Like, why is she like, taking L's originally? But okay. But I didn't expect, and then they jumped her like she stole something. They beat her ass. That was crazy. Like, it was giving very much death row. I said, wow, I'm scared of y'all. I really am scared of y'all. But it was cinema, the emotion. I think it makes it even more interesting of what, well, I'll talk about that for this next show. So the next show, Midsummer Champions, just happened a few days ago. Where does it really start to get cracking? Because I'm not going through the full card. Don't get me wrong, all the matches were good, but I'm about to fall asleep, guys. But anyway, we had Queen's Quest versus Stars, and so I thought this was just your run of the mill 8-woman tag team match. However, Utami Hayashishita decides at the end to grab the mic and talk about how she's going to go find herself. Where are you going? Where are we going, Utami? Like, where are we going for you to find yourself? Because what does that mean? Said she was basically like, Queen's Quest is in great hands. So it's like you went through all of that drama, that putting all of us through emotional turmoil last week just to be like, I'm good. I'm gonna find myself. Like, excuse me, only for and I mean, just seeing the way that Queen's Quest was surrounding her, like, huh, like, girl, are you okay? But I think it only made it even funnier to find out the next day, like all these flyers pop up of she's going to GCW for 3 dates, coming to America, and like that's just such a very interesting first stop for her. But I am excited for the matches. From what I saw, I think it said she's going to face Billy Starks for one of them. She's going to face Lufisto, and I forgot the third one, but it's one I was somewhere on Twitter. But after that, we had Donna Del Mondo, Julia Micah. Also, Micah, she about to go crazy in the 5-star Grand Prix. Anyway, Mai Sakurai, Teka versus Momo, Nasuko, Rina, and Raka. So that was just your run of the mill um, 4 versus 4. And then we had Nanai defeated Starlight Kid. I didn't understand the booking decision for that because I just don't feel like Nanai needed that win. Like, she's a veteran. So yeah, Starlight Kid, I can't say that I've been watching Stardom for a very, very, very long time. I got into it probably around December of last year. However, what I do know is that Starlight Kid is one of the best and most over people on that roster, period. Like, she sells the merch, people love her. She puts on 5-star classics. Like, I'm interested, maybe something will become like, apparent to me during the 5-star Grand Prix. But I'm just not understanding why she's not top girl, like one of the top girls right now in the title pictures, like in the red belt or even the white belt title picture. And if you listen to this and you are like, oh, I have an answer for this, please tell me. Like, I really want to know, because like Starlight Kid is her, period. There's no other way to put it. And next we had Club Venus. They successfully defended their titles for the first time, defeating Ami and Suri. Next we had, this one was crazy. The high speed title match, Saki versus Fujikin Death. Listen, Odio Tai was coming for her ass. Like, they were, like I said, they have been going after her, beating her like she stole something. And she got that roll up because the match ended up being 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I said, oh my gosh. Like, is this going to be her whole high speed run of just like, narrowly escaping death? It might be funny. I don't know. And next we had the Wonder of Stardom title match, Mirai versus Tam Nakano. Listen, Mirai, I owe you an apology. I was not familiar with your game. I have gone on record, especially over the past week, saying that a lot of people owe certain people an apology that didn't get a fair shake at the beginning of the year. Like I said, a lot of y'all owe David Finlay an apology. A lot of y'all owe Mariah May an apology. A lot of y'all owe Master Watto an apology, and a lot of y'all owe Mariah an apology. I'm in two of those categories because I did believe in I believed in giving David Finlay a chance off rip, and I had faith in Mariah May when I really gave her a chance for the first time. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm so sorry, Watto. But now we talk about Mariah. I was not familiar with your game, and She stepped up. That's what I was waiting to see from her. Because I'm gonna be honest, I believed Tam on a lot of those things that were said that she said, even though they were very mean things that she said to Mariah. But I hadn't seen like there had been no matches that really made me like, wow, like Mariah, this is who won the Cinderella tournament. Woo, that's awesome. Or I like, oh, that Mariah match was stole the show on the card, or it was amazing. Um, I never felt that. But this match made me feel that. This match was a war. Mariah, she had to defend her name. She had to defend her name because Tam was talking hardcore shit. Like I will say, and the crazy thing is, obviously, it was in Japanese and had to be translated. But I was like, oh my god! And the thing is, even though if I listen to it, I don't know what she's saying in the moment without captions. But like, even without captions, you know that Tam was just talking crazy shit. Like, I think that's the part. It just looked disrespectful coming out of her mouth. It didn't matter what language it was in. Tam Nakano, you gotta love her. And I think that I get it now. I'm not saying that I agree with it. But I do believe that I get it now why Tam took the title off of Mina before dropping the title to Mariah, because I will say Mariah had a lot of work to do to really it took a lot of work to really get her over. Like, she isn't the most charismatic on the mic. She isn't, the most emotive, like, in facial expression. She isn't like the most charismatic. And I feel like to truly elevate her, it can't be somebody who's still elevating. And I think like Mina fell into that category because we have to remind ourselves, even though she has been very, very successful in a short amount of time, like, oh my God, it's amazing. But we have to remind ourselves, Mina is still rebuilding herself. Like, she has literally been on this redemption tour ever since Sai obviously broke her face. She comes back. She has this new tag team, this new trio, and it's called Club Venus, and like trying to fit in Cosmic Angels, and trying to, work her way back up the ladder to eventually get to Shia, and then, just leaves Cosmic Angels and say, like, I want to do my own thing. Like, I want to do my own thing, and I believe in myself, and I believe I can be a leader now, and I believe I can be a champion as well. Like, this is all still happened in like recent memory. Like, we're still living in Mina's redemption story, just talking about it as related to the goddess of the Stardom belts too, right? So I guess I understand why Mina couldn't be the one to elevate Mariah in that way. So I guess I understand. And I think Tam was just perfect for that. Like, obviously Tam was very disrespectful and very mean, but she made me want to watch this match. Like, she made like Tam, the way that she bullied her, it was just like I want to see like Mariah got to redeem herself. Like, she literally, you can't take that. Like, laying down, like, you got to get your lick back on Tam. Like, and it made me believe in her. Yeah, in its own way, like, it made me believe in her, and it made me like root for her, to really want to put on a really great performance. And like, Tam is a fully developed character. Obviously, she's still growing and evolving, but we know who Tam Nakano is, and I feel like because she's so secure in herself and so secure and like, just who her character is at this time. And sometimes that is a very mean person, but she knows that. I think she was just the perfect person to elevate her here because, she's developed, she's not, still developing like a character like, like Mina. So I was a fan of how that match turned out. And also, Tam is still red belt champion. Julia has now moved on. The life is pretty much good except for Mayu Iwatani. I'm sure it's not anything to do with like her personally. Probably has more to do with Rossi and booking, but this IWGP Women's Championship ain't been defended yet, baby. Since and that match was April 23rd. I know Mariah May challenged her, but when are we gonna actually get a title match? Because I will say, especially with, and I have a hot take. Mercedes would have been an amazing first New Japan Strong champion, but I think, yeah, and yes, she would have brought a lot of prestige to like big shows that she's defending at. Absolutely. But I think like big shows like a Forbidden Door or something, right? Like those are shows that are already gonna be big. But I do believe that Willow becoming champion was a blessing in disguise because she was able to do things with that belt that Mercedes just wasn't going to be able to do and wasn't probably going to do, of being able to have the belt on TV week to week to week to week to week to week. Like we know how Mercedes runs like these days. Like she shows up for the big shows, like she, and also right now I think she's doing marketing and stuff for a movie. So like her schedule is already like, packed and full of stuff. And especially during the summer, she's like an actress, model, wrestler, like, business owner. She's doing a lot of things. And so the thing about somebody like Willow, like she is a full-time wrestler. Like she's a full-time wrestler with ability to like get on, TV time, all the time, like on a regular basis. And I think that was something that this belt needed to really be established its credibility as in a belt that's going to be defended regularly and a belt that's going to basically force the best wrestlers in the world to travel across the ocean to fight the other best wrestlers in the world for it. And fight, as well as on, their respective country soil. Like, I think it's set a frequency standard in like title defenses that is really good, because especially with the IWGP Women's Championship, just we don't know what's going on with that. And yeah, we just don't know what's going on with that. So everybody thought that was going to be the more quote unquote prestigious belt, but honestly, it feels like right now that New Japan Strong Championship is just as prestigious. So I think that that's a lot due to, be like I said, being able to be defended on TV and being just shown on TV. It was just a huge deal, both in AEW, Ring of Honor, as well as Forbidden Door. So that's been cool. Yeah. So, the last match on that card, I forgot. The strap match. Natspoi and sorry, I knew I still like botch some of these pronunciations, so forgive me. But yeah, was the match as bad as everybody made it out to be on Twitter? No. However, it was an Indian strap match. I just wish that it wasn't the main event. I think that Mariah versus Tam for the Wonder of Stardom belt should have main evented. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about it. It wasn't my favorite match, clearly, of the night. Yeah, I just wish it didn't main event. But we live and we learn. And also, I still think the world of both women, like, is like Natspoi specifically has been one of the best big match wrestlers of the year, of just showing up and showing out every time she gets those singles performances. So like obviously think very highly of both women. I just wish it did main event. But anyway, it's going to be a big upcoming week, guys. We got the G1 coming up. That's probably going to be the theme of a lot of episodes going forward. So buckle up. It's going to be G1 Mania over here, in addition to Got to figure out what's going on with blood and guts. We're going to start building towards All In. And we're going to figure out what's next for a lot of these women's championships. So super excited about all of that. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Lyric Wrestling and on other social media platforms at Lyric Swinton. Also, you can find Maps and Graps on all available, podcast outlets, Google, Apple, Spotify, and also on YouTube. In addition, you can also find all of your Maps and Graps merch on foryourwear.com/mapsgraps. Thank you to everybody who's ordered your merch already. I truly appreciate it. I got my own t-shirt now too. So it's been super exciting to see the logo on media like that. So let me know how you're enjoying the podcast. Keep supporting my articles coming out, and I will chat with y'all later. So much to talk about. Bye.